All right, so I told you guys in the last video that it was time to cut the T-top stuff out of the new race car. I've been putting it off for a while. I think I've got all the bracing that needs to be on it, and I've put it off just because it's a lot of cutting, and I'm tired of cutting and grinding. But I'm not gonna put it off anymore, so let's get to it. All right, got it all cut out. So now we got a big empty hole on the roof, and also got all this kind of sheet metal stuff in the sail panel area cut out. But got a bunch of junk over here in the floor and the T-top. I'm getting ready to weigh this stuff and see actually how much I cut out. Obviously that's some of the inside quarter panel that kind of goes up. This was inside the sail panel area, but cut all that stuff out too. So let's see what this stuff weighs. All right, that was gonna be a little bit difficult to do with holding the camera, so set the camera up and let's see what this stuff weighs. You got to keep in mind too that the T-tops themselves actually weigh like 13 pounds a piece. So let's see here. It says, well, get it to balance here in a second. Okay, looks like 21.5 pounds for that structure of the car. And then we've got this big box of stuff over here. So let's see what it all comes out to. So it looks like 32.3 pounds. Okay, so I'm not real good at math because I did go to school in Haywood County, North Carolina, so we didn't learn a lot. But 32 pounds and 21 pounds, and then like I said, you've got 13 pounds for each T-top. I think that's about 79 pounds. 79 pounds out of an already really light car. So I'm pumped about that. And the carbon roof that's going back on the car, I think that thing weighs like 6 or 7 pounds total. So, you know, and there's gonna be some glue involved. And there's a little bit of bracing that I'll put back in just to kind of stiffen up the upper side of the windshield and things of that sort. So, I mean, say 6 pounds for the roof and a couple pounds for the glue and a little bit for bracing. I mean, all in all, it's knocked off, say 70 pounds off of that car. And it's off of the roof of the car, which is the highest point, and kind of the quarter panel area, which is all, you know, middle, general kind of central area of the car. So that's awesome when you can lose that much weight out of a car. So yeah, this is gonna be exciting. I'm looking forward to what this car is gonna weigh when it's all said and done. But I think it's gonna be considerably lighter than the old car. And that was the main goal with this project, was to have a safer car, a car that was built to do what we're planning to do with it, and have it be considerably lighter, because if you got to move less weight, then it's a little easier to go faster. So that's the plan. Okay, so now that all the heavy cutting is done on the car, I can finally get the area cleaned up a little bit and start actually mounting stuff and figuring out where things are going. So disregard my speed strap here. we're just kind of holding the car together at the moment. But we're gonna get that fixed up. But I got the motor plate trimmed out and kind of set where it's gonna be, and needed to do that so that I could get the transmission mount figured out. So this right here actually came with the car, and I think maybe it was set up for a Glide or a Turbo 350 or something, I'm not sure. But it goes right there, and you know, a bolt goes through it. But T56 mount is a little further back, so I'm gonna get a plate and bolt it to this, and then I will cut this down and weld it to that plate, and then the transmission will be mounted. So we're making steps forward, but then obviously when you make some steps forward, there's going to be some steps back. But this right here is ground down because that's where the drive shaft loop was, and as you can see, that's not going to work. It was hitting the transmission. So I think maybe we will move the drive shaft loop back here, or maybe come off of these bars and kind of angle it a little bit forward. We'll start working on that here in a little bit, but I think I'll get that transmission mount figured out. And then after that, I'm gonna start working on some pedals. We need a clutch and a brake pedal and a gas pedal, and we're just gonna keep making some progress on this thing. All right, so we got our little plate made, and don't laugh at the shape. Trying to make everything as light as possible. That's kind of the theme with this car, is everything I'm thinking about weight. Like, if it needs an extra washer, it's not gonna be there. I didn't really have that mindset with the old car, and you see where that got us. It was a heavy car. So this will be the plate for the transmission mount, and it may even get trimmed up some more after this, but we got our holes in it, and we'll see about getting this thing in place and welded up. Okay, so that's on there, and then that's how that'll work. That'll just go right up there, and we'll weld that up. Should work pretty good. So I'm not the welder of the family, but Steven's a little preoccupied. He's building a house, and you know, I gotta get the race car done. So you just gotta do it. You just gotta weld. I normally let him do it because he's a little bit more agile and nimble than I am, and he can fit in tight spaces. I don't know why, but welding that drive shaft loop was about the hardest thing I've ever had to do. There wasn't no good way to get to it. I'll turn you guys around and show you where I had my head, but it wasn't fun. All right, so it's in, and again, I'm not the welder of the family, so don't judge the welds, but it is welded in. But you see this welding helmet? You see this hole right here? Well, that welding helmet don't even, well, it sort of fits through that hole. But anyways, that's where my head was, up underneath the car, just so that I could get in there and weld that. It was tight, but anyways, it's done. So, and while I was at it, I just went ahead and threw in the steering column, made a little plate for it, and it just bolts in the factory location on the firewall. But made that plate, went ahead and welded some nuts on there because I hate using two tools to take, stuff loose. So this way, you can just grab a gun and take the bolt out. It's super nice, and the nut stays. So now it's time to start working on this pedal assembly, and I've been putting it off because it's got more than one piece to it. It's actually got like 100 pieces, and it's slightly difficult. And this pedal pivots independently of that thing, and this thing pivots all together, and this over here spins, and you got all these brackets and doodads you got to weld together. So I'm gonna start attempting to figure that out, but hopefully we have some pedals by the end of the day. You guys remember just a few minutes ago when I said that welding the drive shaft loop was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life? I take that back. I found something new that was more harder, equally as hard, but it is bad. And that was this pedal assembly. Man, I felt like you needed 12 hands to, I only got 2, but I feel like you needed 12 to even hold this thing in place and weld it. And man, there's so many moving parts, and you got to get it straight. And gosh, it was awful. And I feel like it's going to be like a 5 video long saga on the pedal installation. All right, so it's, mostly in. We got the clutch pedal here, and it's working. That's pretty cool. Brake pedal, obviously gonna go there. It's not attached to anything yet. Still have to cut down this shaft and weld these tabs on, and those will end up having a rod that comes from there that has to end up at the clutch fork. But as you can see, they're not on the same plane or angle or direction or anything. So I think I'm gonna have to get creative and come back here and mount something kind of here, maybe somewhere in here, I don't know. But that this rod end will come to and will pivot, and then another rod will go forward to the clutch fork. So when this travels backwards, this back here would pivot backwards, which would pull this backwards. It's kind of a complicated way to do it, but that's about all I got, because I can't send a rod from here to over there. It's just not gonna work. So I guess maybe I could extend this way out here. Nah, that still ain't gonna work. Yeah, that's my best shot. I'm gonna put some sort of pipe back here, similar to how this stuff works, and just weld 2 little tabs on it that will pivot with the pipe. And yeah, anyways, that should work. But I got to get the gas pedal figured out now. So this is the Tim McCamus pedal kit, which is, it's a good kit. It's just pretty difficult to install with just one person, but I have to find a way to mount that rod so that the gas pedal can be somewhere in that general area. But it's been a long Saturday and I'm beat, so I think the gas pedal is gonna have to wait for the next video. We'll see you guys later. All right, so obviously it's not time for an intake yet, but I got the gas pedal mostly installed, and the only way to try it out is to hook a throttle cable up and see what it does. All right, gas pedal is in, and I got the linkage ran through. I had to make this really neat looking, it's just a little piece of aluminum that I threaded and then drilled a hole through it. So when that bolt gets tightened up, it tightens the aluminum to the pedal, and it also clamps down the wire. So it's, yeah, it can't move in there. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, we got a gas pedal and a clutch pedal and a brake pedal. The clutch and brake don't do much yet, but that's pretty exciting about a gas pedal. You guys are gonna watch these videos and think that I got ADD or something. I might, I don't know. But I'm jumping around all over the place on this car. I got tired of working on the pedals, so you know I'm gonna mess on them, just leave them for a little while. Got the gas pedal working. Still have to figure out the brackets for the clutch, and still have to figure out the brake master cylinder and the rod going to that. But I think with projects like this, you kind of have to have a little bit of ADD, and you kind of got to jump around a little bit, because you got to make sure that parts are coming in for stuff that is down the line. And if you don't think about it or don't even mess with it until it comes that time, then you're gonna be waiting on stuff a long time. So again, I'm jumping around. I'm gonna start working on this anti-roll bar now. I've had it for a while, and I've just decided to get it welded up and put in the car. And I'm doing it a little bit different than probably most people would, but I've held it in the car 1,000 different directions, and I'll show you the route that I decided to go with. So I'm sure Ron Rhodes, who designed this anti-roll bar, did not intend on it being installed the way that I'm installing it, but anyways, there's just really not enough room up underneath the car with the wishbone. The wishbone's out of it right now, but it's up there, and I couldn't get this bar through there without it interfering with ride height and all sorts of stuff. And then also you want the links to be as straight up and down as they can be. So I couldn't mount it back here behind the shocks. It just wasn't working out. So I decided to go inside the car with it, and that's just how we're doing it. So I made these plates, which is pretty neat, and I'm actually going to weld these plates in. And not that the anti-roll bar ever needs to be removed, but I'm still going to make it removable. I'm going to weld some tabs onto this that will bolt to this, and if you ever need to take the anti-roll bar out, you just slide it out one end or the other. But this is going to go on there kind of like this. Yeah, kind of just like that right there. And I'll weld it all the way around through here. And like I said, on the back side, I will put one of those brackets on like so. And then I will bolt it through this metal plate. I think it'll have it. Should be pretty solid. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these plates tacked in and see if we can start figuring it out. I said I'm not the welder of the family, but that turned out pretty good. I think it makes it a lot easier when you don't have to add filler, when there's just some good material. Now I think I have to go back and make another pass with filler to kind of build it up a little bit. And that's probably not gonna look as good, but looks good now. All right, so I know this is not the conventional way to do it, but I'm pretty pumped about it. This has actually turned out sweet. Obviously it's all just tacked in right now, but that's kind of how that's gonna work, and no obstructions in the car. And I'll probably, the length's gonna have to end up being a little bit longer. I have to get that's just the section of tube that they sent with it. I'll probably get another section there and make it to where this arm is like this. And actually all this will be inside of the carbon tub. The carbon tub comes up about here, I believe, and it kind of comes back through here. So all of that will be inside the carbon tub, and you'll just really never see it. But got to get it all finished welded, and you can kind of see the bracket on the inside. I'll drill those 3 bolt holes out, and that bearing assembly will be bolted to that plate. And I've machined this anti-roll bar. You really can't see it, but there's a lip right here. I turned down this anti-roll bar to where this bar can't slide all the way through. It's got just that very little play, like 1/8 of an inch from side to side. Not that there's much side force on these things, but anyways, the bearing kind of centers the anti-roll bar and supports it. So yeah, that's killer. I'm really excited how that turned out. All right, guys, here's some more of that ADD kicking in. I've drilled this hole through the factory frame. These cars are unibody, but that's as much frame rail as you got. This right here is the mid plate mounting, and I think there's a little bit of reason for my ADD this time. But anyways, I'm gonna put that bar completely through there. That's gonna tie together both sides of the frame rail, and it's gonna have a plate on there. I'll weld that tube to the plate first, and then stick it all in there, weld that up, grind it, clean it up, make it look good. But the main reason for that is that little hole right there. It's kind of hard to see, but that little hole will eventually get bigger, and that will be where the rod for the master cylinder comes through. And this is not the master cylinder that I'm using. I just had it laying around, but the brake master cylinder will end up getting mounted, and the rod, like I said, will go through that hole. So I was planning on doing this anyways, because there's really not much that's attaching the factory body to the actual chassis of the car. So this was on my to-do list anyways, but now I'm doing it because I'm going to be able to mount the brake master off of it. I'll put a plate off of this and drill the bolt pattern in it for the brake master cylinder, and it'll end up, it's kind of hard to see, but it'll end up sitting somewhere in that general area. So that should be cool. Doing it over here too, not because a brake master cylinder is going over here, but because I want to tie the car into the main chassis. So got these pipes all made up, and got the backing plates for them. So we're going to get these welded in, and should do the trick. When you do this welding stuff on the body, see, you get to use the MIG welder. You know, the welder where you just pull the trigger and just go at it. You know, you don't have to TIG weld with one hand and feed filler with the other hand and step on a pedal with the foot and pat your head and rub your stomach and do all that stuff. Man, TIG welding's hard. But thankfully, I just had to MIG weld that. And while I had it in my hand, I just went ahead and MIG welded everything. So it's in, and those bars should do the trick. So like I said, I'll end up getting a plate made and mounting it right up there for the brake master cylinder, and should be pretty stout now. The main frame is tied into the chassis, and if it wasn't still hot, I'd flick it and say that ain't going anywhere, you know, because you got to do that, but that ain't going nowhere. If you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. It's been a productive week. I feel like I've gotten a lot done. There's a lot of progress being made on the car. I've had the car for a couple months now, and I don't feel like much has happened. But this week has been productive. And you know, Steven's on vacation this week. Hannah's busy doing, you know, girl stuff, whatever girls do. So it's just me this week. You just get me. But I appreciate you hanging out with me, and we got a lot of parts coming in for kind of all the loose ends that we've got going on with the car right now. I'll kind of turn you around here and show you what the plan is maybe next week. So again, we got the pedals mostly in this week. I did get a steering knuckle there, and we've got the joint up there, so I'll probably be able to make the steering shaft next week back there in that hole. So that's the bar we just got welded in. I'll get a plate made and get the master cylinder mounted back there. So that'll be cool. And got to start figuring out, so this car came with a fire system, which is great. It's I believe it's a 20-pound fire system. It's two 10-pound fire systems. So these are the nozzles. Had to buy these tabs, been waiting on these to come in, but I need to figure out where I'm going to mount all these nozzles for the fire system. So obviously you want some in the engine bay, you want some in the car, but you know, I may end up, I don't know, mounting one off this bar so that it kind of sprays towards the engine. May even do some up here. I don't know. That's going to be a job for the next video. Got a bunch of tube ends in, and you know, Heim joints and stuff so that I can make the linkages for the pedal assembly and for the brake master once I get that mounted. So we got that, you know, we got that tab on there. Again, we got the transmission mounted. That's done. The dry shaft loop's done. I made the little bracket for the seat. So just waiting on some tubing to come in so that I can weld, you know, a little back brace off of it, and then I'll mount the bottom of the seat. So yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of things to do on this car, but like I said, I made good progress. Got those nuts welded in like I was talking about, so you can just take the bolts out from the inside of the car. And the anti-roll bar, I mean, it's pretty much done. Obviously, I'll take it out and strip the whole car down while I'm painting it. And I'll wait until I get the carbon tubs back in before I even make these end links, because I'm going to want this to be as high up in the carbon tub as I can. That way it has all the travel. But it was a good week, so I appreciate you guys sticking around, and we'll see you in about a week or so.